Are you going to, okay, first question. Let's see. When you get into the Bob Marshall Wilderness, will you be going to the Chinese Wall? So I don't exactly know what that is, and I don't look ahead too much because I don't know, I don't like to ruin things. So I accidentally saw some pictures of Glacier the other day and I was like, no, but Kyle has made mention of the Chinese Wall and says it's beautiful. I have not seen pictures. I don't want to. I don't even really want to know a whole lot about it. But I talked to a girl named Yoda who finished today, or well, in the last few days, and she said something about a fire closure and an alternate, and she kind of mentioned something about the Chinese Wall. So I don't know if she meant that there's a closure and you can't see that anymore, or you get a better view from, because she said something about you get a better view from the CDT, but I think she means like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure. Yes, it's up that way, but I don't know yet if there's a fire closure that's going to prevent me from seeing it, whatever it is. So I'll let y'all know, afterwards, of course, whether I got to see it or whether there was a closure. But when we get off here tonight, so basically we got done hiking today, came into town, rushed to dinner, like did some laundry. Actually, the laundry's going right now. And then I came to do this. So I haven't gotten to research too much about the section ahead and what closures there might be. So I will do that after we chat. Fred says, how much does your can of bear spray weigh? Do you consider that a luxury item? I want to say, I don't remember how much it weighs. I think a lot of people's, let me grab it real quick. Okay, I was gonna say, I think it's, yeah, so it's 10 ounces of like volume. I couldn't remember if it weighed 10 ounces or, it had 10 ounces. Let's see. Yeah, I think, no, that looks like, yeah, I guess it could be. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure. I don't recall how much it weighs. But I carry it on my hip belt, so it's at least not on my back. And do I consider that a luxury item? I reckon, but not really. It's like, it's not something I'm necessarily excited about. So, but it's not a necessity. So I reckon it is a luxury item to feel more comfortable. But, yeah. Izzy says, how do you store your food when not in Grizz country? Like when you were in Colorado, I used to sleep with my food. Now I'm paranoid and use an Ursack. Yeah, so, I mean, anytime you're in bear country, it's a good idea to hang your food and to get your food, especially out of your tent. Like, and I've said before, you don't want bears associating humans with food. So you really don't want them getting it. So I think using an Ursack is great, and I've actually toyed with that idea a good bit myself just to not have to fool with it or worry about it. So when I was in Colorado and, there was an opportunity to get the food out of my pack and hang it on a tree, then that's what I did. But if there were just like, bushes and stuff, sometimes I'd just go put it on a bush. And I mean, I have slept with my food. I don't like doing that, especially, when I'm camping alone. I don't recommend that. So I think, the Ursack route is a pretty good idea, because then you can just get it out of your tent, either tie it to a low branch or, put a heavy rock on top of it. And you don't have to worry about mice getting to it or anything like that, because then you're short on food for whatever section. So yeah, and honestly, the trees in this area, the trees in Colorado, a lot of places, they're not proper hanging trees. There are ways that you can rig, two branches that are close enough together. I've YouTubed it, have not tried that yet, but these lodgepole pines and stuff that are around here, I mean, a bear can shimmy right up that and get your food anyway. But you see, and Perk and I joke about how you see on all these demonstrations of how to do it, they have the perfect tree, and they have a perfect like hanging pole like they have in Yellowstone, if y'all have ever been there. But it's just not always like that. So I mean, realistically, you just do the best you can. But one of the things that I think that you could do to be the safest is an earth sack. It's an easy solution. It is heavier, but so anyway, that's a really good really good question. Deanna is on here. That's awesome. Yeah, I just sent her the link for the Q&A. I used to do that last year all the time. If y'all don't know who she is the wonderful patient person who manages to put up with the folks in the backpacking forum on Facebook. So I'm pretty sure she's the only, let's see, yeah, and my family might pop in too. But Philip says, follow up to food storage question, last Q&A, did Perk carry bear canister through whole PCT? Perk carried a bear canister. That's pretty cool. 2 food storage questions right together. Perk carried a bear canister up to after the Sierra. So I'm pretty sure, I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere after you weren't required to carry one anymore, he quit carrying it. So he carried it all through the desert, all through the Sierra, and then as far as I know, anyway, when I saw him last at mile 400 or so, he still had his bear can. So I assume he kept it up to mile 700, which is Kennedy Meadows, all the way through the Sierra, and then ended up swapping to his food bag north of there. Philip says, did you buy or rent the Weekender? I bought the Weekender. Now, at the time, I don't think that I knew that renting was even an option. I'm pretty sure I figured that out, later. I did know that you could rent, like, what are those called? Oh my goodness, why can't I think of it? The Garcia. I knew somewhere rented those out, but I just didn't want something that heavy. And actually, the bear canister was a gift. So I didn't buy it, but I own the Weekender, and yeah, I didn't rent it. So, but I do know that Wild Ideas does rent them out. So hi Dixie, I take it the toes are doing well. They are. They're like, the skin is kind of peeling where they were inflamed from being infected. It's kind of gross and a little bit itchy, but nothing is swollen anymore. And I notice a whole lot when I bend down to take a picture, and then I get back up and I wait for like the pain of the toenails digging into my toe, into the meat, and it doesn't happen. And I'm like, oh man. So yeah, there is absolutely no pain left at all in my toes. So it's awesome. Max says, well, how the heck are you? So good to see you. Talk trekking poles for a second. Any suggestions? Okay. Yes. So I have the Alpine, I think it's called Alpine Carbon. They're the Black Diamond. They have kind of a long name. But the thing that I like in trekking poles personally are cork handles. Like the grips, I like them to be cork, because if my hands get sweaty, or if it's raining or whatever, I don't know, the cork seems to absorb the water or sweat or the dampness more than like a rubber pole, which I don't know, just having that like greasy, slimy feeling on the rubber, I just can't deal with that. But everyone's got their thing, right? So foam handles to me seem like they would be a little bit better than just straight rubber ones, but I just like the cork the best. And then another thing to consider are the locks. So you've got some that like twist to lock, and you've got other ones that have like the latches, and mine actually have that latch that locks them. And so I like that too. I have seen people that have the twisty ones that they kind of start sliding. I mean, some of the locks will start sliding too, supposedly. I've never had that issue. But anyway, so I had some REI trekking poles that had cork grips before, and those like lever locks, and I have the same thing now, but they're Black Diamond, and instead of being metal, they are carbon fiber. So I mean, the material, yeah, they are lighter, and noticeably so, but most of the time they're in my hands, so it's really not that big of a deal to me how much they weigh. If you're the type of person that's going to collapse your poles and carry them, you might care more about that. But I do really like the trekking poles I have. They've been with me on the PCT and this one. So, but I would have had my REI trekking poles still if they weren't upon Katahdin somewhere, but they got lost up there. So So anyhow, I don't know if you have any more specific questions about the trekking poles, let me know. I noticed you wear shoe inserts. Were you able to completely heal your plantar fasciitis, or is it still something you've learned to cope with? So I don't know if it's ever completely healed. I don't usually feel it unless, like, I don't stretch anymore, and I should, but I really don't. So it's healed enough in the way that I don't have to stretch every morning. I'm not rolling my foot on a frozen water bottle when I get to town. But I do wear the inserts, Dr. Scholl's, for plantar fasciitis, and I do replace my shoes every 400 to 500 miles. On this trail, I've started feeling my plantar fascia like burning and doing that lightning thing in my foot at like 400 miles in a pair of trail runners. So that's been the biggest thing with me, is replacing my inserts and replacing my shoes every 400 to 500 miles or so, or, you know, just when I start to feel that little twinge. And then at that time, like if I start feeling it, I'll stretch and maybe roll my foot on a frozen water bottle, you know, in town. But normally, and as like a typical thing, I'm not having to do that. So so I would say for the most part, it's better. You know, it's not like I feel it every day or anything like that, or I'm having to stretch all the time. I should, but I'm not. Trisha says, "Hi Dixie, I know on the PCT you switched out packs because you were getting some chafe, rashes. Have you been using the same pack for the entire CDT?" Yes, so I went from the Hyperlat Mountain Gear pack to the Z-Packs, Arcall. There we go. And so I had the Arcall from Northern California. I'm trying to remember the name. Syed Valley. And then all the way through to Canada. And then I've had it on this whole trail. Now, the back cushion, like the hip belt back panel cushion thing, is kind of starting to fray a good bit. My chest strap is fraying some. So, you know, it's these more lightweight packs are pretty much guaranteed, at least Z-Packs, for a THRU-HIKE. You know, Perk has, well, he actually got his replaced because the back, something tore on his. So, but they, you know, the more ultralight packs are definitely not as durable as an Osprey, you know. So, but they are lightweight, you know, they are good at making a very lightweight pack. And I will say that the Z-Packs pack carries better to me than the HMG pack did, in the way that, like, the hip belt is more comfortable to me, and the chest, or not the chest strap, but the shoulder straps are more comfortable. But nothing beats the comfort to me of like an Osprey, but then you got more weight on you. So, you know, it just really depends, like how much your gear weighs and all of that. But anyhow, but yes, I have used the pack this whole trail, and I actually think, like, I still like it fine, but I think I'm gonna try something else. So next, just, you know, I don't know, I'm gonna need a new pack. It's wearing down, and so yeah, I think I'll give something else a try. Room looks a whole lot better. Comfort City must be such a relief. Yeah, it is nice being in this room. I'm like right up on the curtains, but yeah, I do. I'm getting to the end of the trail where it's just like I'm ready to be indoors for a little while. You know, I'm ready to enjoy my bed. Like, I miss my house and my bed, and so I was talking to Perk earlier today. You know, he's kind of been down in the dumps the last couple of days, and I caught up with him today, and he was sitting and drinking coffee, and I was like, "You all right, Perk?" Because yesterday it snowed on us. Yesterday it snowed and rained a good bit during the day. Nothing stuck or anything like that. And he was just like, "You know, I am," but I don't know, I could just tell he was down. And I'm like, "Perk, this is that part of the THRU-HIKE where, like, you're tired, you know, you've been at it for a while, and, you know, you're exhausted, you're hungry, and, like, one stop in town can't cure that hunger, and, you know, you just want to see your friends and your family and your pets, and this is the part where you just have to put your head down and keep trucking, and because it's something that you want, and it's a goal that you've been working at. And I don't think that anybody that's ever been successful hasn't had a point in all of that where they're just like, I'm so tired. Like, I'm tired of, you know, like doing this and working hard at it. And I think it's kind of come to that point, and I was like, we got this, you know, we just got to do it. And he was like, yeah, you're right, you know. And then he drank his coffee and he came on, and here we are in town, you know. So but anyway, I think everyone goes through those days, and you know, when you've been working hard at something for a while, it can get like that sometimes. But Philip says, what's scarier, mountain lion or grizz? Okay, well, to me, when I was a little girl, I had always envisioned that like all grizzlies have red glowing eyes, and if one was around, it would definitely charge out of the bushes and maul me. I mean, there was no question of like, would it run off? Like, it was going to maul me. It was just a chance of like, or it was a matter of would I survive or not, kind of thing. And so luckily that didn't happen. So I have to say, before coming out on the trail, to me, it was scarier envisioning having a run-in with a grizzly, but now that it's happened, the mountain lion experience was much scarier for me. So, hi Dixie, sorry if you've covered this previously, but could you tell us about your sleep system choice and what you like about the Z-Packs bag? You've used it here and on the PCT, I think. Yes, Dawn, you are correct. So as far as my sleeping bag and sleeping pad, and shelter. So shelter is the duplex, but the Z-Packs sleeping bag, I have the 10 degree now, and I think that they discontinued that, if I'm not mistaken. I think now you can only get the 20 degree or the 5 degree, and honestly, I did start the PCT with the 20 degree bag. It was not warm enough for me. I got cold in it when it was like lower 30s even, and I know that a sleeping bag rating is not always necessarily comfort level. It's like, it'll keep you alive at that temperature kind of thing. But the 20 degree, I was still miserable in it. Now I've got the 10 degree, and I have had a couple of nights where I'm cold, and I think it was in Southern California still when I swapped to the 10 degree bag, and there were some nights in the Sierra, but I guess the only time that I've really been cold in it, I was already chilled. So it was like I was already in freezing rain for hours, you know, and so it was just hard for me to get warmed up. But most nights I sleep pretty warm in that. You know, I haven't wanted anything warmer really, but I don't know. I'm so cold-natured that I would like to have the 5 degree bag. But like I said, I haven't had too many cold nights, but I do love how lofty it gets. I also like the way that the baffles, so it's got the vertical baffles. I'm looking over there because I've got it hanging up right now, allowing it to loft. So on my 0 days, I try to let my puffy and my sleeping bag either hang or lay somewhere just so they can loft up, so I'm not keeping it, you know, crushed down. So especially if it's been damp, but it just gets very, very lofty. And I also like that the way that they make them, you know, it's made in like a range. So you select like for width and for length. And so I like that. So I've not got this extra sleeping bag that my body is trying to warm up, and you know, it's kind of more tailored to my size. And so anyway, that's pretty much, I guess, all I can say about it. I had a Sierra Designs bag before. It was a 23 degree bag, but it wasn't very warm, and it was much bigger than I needed it to be. And you know, anyway, I had a lot of cold nights in it, but in the Smokies anyway. But it wasn't bad for the price. So I don't know if I answered all that. Oh, and my sleeping pad, I have the Neo Air Extra Light, the short. So it's only 8 ounces, and I put my pack under my legs. The only time that that's ever problematic, it's, you know, I've gotten used to the comfort. Of course, it's not as comfortable as a full length, but for saving 4 ounces of weight, I'm good with it. So the only time that that's been somewhat problematic is if it's been pouring rain and my pack is wet. So then I don't want to put my wet pack up under my, you know, dry sleeping bag. So in that instance, you can I've taken out my compactor bag before and laid it on top of the pack, and so then you just have to make sure. Or what I've also done is I've put my sleeping bag, like put in my legs inside the compactor bag and then lay them on top of the pack. But you just basically want to make sure that you're not putting your dry sleeping bag on a wet pack. So but that's my sleep system, and that's what I plan right now to have until I finish. So I mean, it's gonna be what it is, because I'll have to have a problem and then Amazon it and then get to a town where I can pick it up and all that if I did swap. So but anyway, yeah, that's what I've used on the PCT and since Southern California and this trail, and I do like it. Lee says, I've heard that at the end of a through hike you can kind of just start to feel run down. Do you, or are you experiencing that? How are you holding up? Yeah, like I am, kind of feeling like that. I've gotten to the point where I'm not hungry for anything that I can put in my pack anymore. I look at stuff at the store and I'm just like, I don't want that. I'm sick of that. That makes me want to throw up, and it has kind of gotten to that point again. Also just, yeah, like you're like, I've been doing this for day after day after day now. Like I'm ready to get to the end now. And then also I feel like I have so much that I want to do. Like the list of things that I want to do when I get home has gotten longer and longer and longer. And, it'll only be so many months before I'll be back out on the PCT again with my mom. And I'm really excited about that, but it's just like, I want to finish my blog, I want to get the t-shirt contest that I talked about going. And it's just like, I don't have enough time in town to really iron all of those things out and get it up and going. Like it's not like you just blink and it's magically done, right? Like I got to sit down and do all of it. I got to write out the rules for the contest and make sure that the lady that helps with my website is able to fix it to where people can submit designs and yada yada. Also, I want to start writing some books, and those things just take not being on trail to do. And so I'm starting to look more and more forward to those things, especially as it gets colder. And so yeah, I'm just I'm ready to finish this thing that I've been at since 2015, so yeah, I think that that's true. And I don't know if it's so much physically that you're worn down as much as like mentally and emotionally, but that's me personally, I reckon. So Kevin says, excited and happy for your progress. What's the protocol for snores on AT? Guessing you would need to stay out of shelters and keep a distance from other campers. So I think that if you're a snorer, that it is polite to, not subject other people to that. As far as like the shelter, it kind of echoes in there and stuff. So if I were a snorer, I wouldn't, want to keep people up all night. Also, like hostels, like bunk rooms, I've been kept up from people snoring. Now, also, people can tote earplugs, so I know folks that put earplugs in their tents. I don't like to do that because I like to hear what's going on around me. But now in a hostel, I don't, you could definitely put earplugs in. Now, I have used earplugs in a hostel with people snoring and still heard it. So, but it comes a point where sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And sometimes people need to understand that. So if it's pouring down rain and you're tired and there's an empty space and you don't want to set up your tent and you want to pack up a dry tent in the morning too, then you can talk to the people around you, be like, hey, I'm a snorer, like, are you cool with me staying in the shelter? And that's being way considerate, because like you don't have to, right? You could just go in there and snore and keep them up. But I don't know. I think it's a polite thing to do to like let people know, or try not to sleep in shelters and stuff like that and keep people up. And obviously you're a considerate person for even asking, right? So, but it's not like, there's a sign up that's like, snorers don't come here kind of thing. While on the trail, what would you say is the most exhausting mentally? And what would you say gives you the biggest morale boost? I would say what's most mentally exhausting is, for me, I don't know. I think like I'm thinking back to like all the experiences. So, On the AT, I was worried about beating the snow to Katahdin. I was worried they were going to shut down Katahdin. On the PCT, I would say the fire closures were the most mentally challenging, just like trying to do every open mile of trail and get in, and some would be like little 10-mile pieces in the middle of two closures. You know, it was just such a pain to get in there to those. And, you know, this trail, it's like also the weather, but I don't know. I think towards the end I start worrying, like, what if I fall down and break my leg, or what if I, but I think overall the thing that taxes me the most is like cold rain. And I know that is a physical thing, but like that will mess with me mentally more than anything else. Like that makes me, I don't want to do it. And so I think I'm going to take an umbrella with me this next stretch, just because it does help a lot to keep the cold rain off of your rain clothes, and therefore, you know, keeps the rain gear dry, so you don't have like this cold liquid on your body just like sucking your heat out of you. I know that was like a lot of answers, but those are the things that I think of, you know, that just wear on me. And even though cold rain is more physical, that's like my mental kryptonite is freezing cold rain. I remember one time on the PCT, Perk and I had been walking in freezing cold rain, and he was trying to keep my spirits up, bless his heart. Like, I was just like, just beaten down, and we talked about that the other day, and we both got into our tents and got changed, and I was in my warm sleeping bag, and I was like, Perk, I don't even want to think about getting up and getting out of this tent and having to put on my cold, wet clothes in the morning and hiking this again, because we knew it was supposed to be raining the next day too, and it was. And he was like, well, Dixie, tonight you don't have to think about it. And I was just like, thank you. Sometimes it's just like, it's such a mental game. I don't know. How are your legs? When folks do these super long distance hikes, do your legs or feet end up sore, or does your body just adjust? So Perk and I were talking the other day, and we think that on the AT, like, he might adjust a little bit, but literally my feet every morning were very sore. Like, I would stand up and I would be like, oh, like literally every morning. I think you do get adjusted to an extent on any of these trails, but more so on the PCT and CDT have I gotten adjusted. I am still stiff when I get up and stuff. Like, if I sit down too long on a break and I get up, I'm stiff. But yes, I mean, when you're doing something for hours and hours every single day for 5 months to 6 months, yes, your body does adjust. But I think that we did the hiker shuffle, you know, where you're like limping along in town and stuff, more so on the AT. But yeah, your legs and your feet and all do adjust some, and then you get off trail and you lose it all. That's kind of how it goes. When you're off trail and back to normal home life, do you do any regular exercise or walking? Not really. I mean, if it's summertime and I'm gardening, I'm getting a lot of work done. But, I mean, Kyle and I were going to the gym and stuff, after the PCT for a while, and then that kind of faded out. So hoping that it'll come back this time. I would like to try to keep this triple crown bod, you know, except build up my arms, because I don't have any right now. Well, I have them in a puffy, but like, look at that, like, you know, they say chicken legs, but I'm like chicken arms and bird little bony chest. And yeah, so maybe we can do some of that this time. But in between my hikes, no, generally I have not done regular exercising. I've even tried to be like, man, I'm used to higher elevations now. When I get home, I could start running and it'll be easier to transition to that. And I've done like the Couch to 5K app sometimes, and then I just don't stick to it. So, my mom says that she wants me to do some stuff with her walking or running or jogging, to help her get prepared for the PCT. I told her she's gonna be fine either way, but you know, whatever makes her feel comfortable. And of course, it's always good to try to be in good shape. So this time I'm hoping to, but I have not in the past. So, which part of each trail would you recommend for a section hike? Well, so I've heard said that the Triple Crown, you know, is AT, PCT, CDT, and the Triple Tiara is the Vermont Long Trail, and the JMT and the Colorado Trail. So honestly, I think if you did either 3 of those, each of those sections are kind of the cream of the crop on each trail. Now, the AT, New Hampshire and Maine are also gorgeous. So, and I mean, other states, I mean, Massachusetts is beautiful near Greylock area. You know, a lot of those states are really pretty. So, but yeah, if you did those like sections on those 3 shorter through hiking trails, then yeah, that's some pretty territory. So how have the water sources been lately? That was asked by Jim. Lately, they've been a little more scarce or off trail. They've been a little bit further apart, and I think that that's something that we have to look out for moving forward. So I'm gonna have to up my capacity a little bit. This last stretch, I just had a 3-liter capacity. But anyway, all right, well, bye y'all, and have a good rest of the weekend. And for those of y'all getting out and doing hikes and stuff, I hope the weather holds out for you. Thank you all so much. All right, bye.